Hi, guys. Welcome to the Underground Path VGC podcast, where great players not in the limelight discuss the competitive aspects of all things VGC related. I am your host/moderator for today, Jason. I also go by silversnorlax. I'm joined today by a host of other competitive players with me, and rather than have me introduce everybody individually, I'm just going to go ahead and go around and let everybody introduce themselves. Jack, let's go ahead and start with you.
Oh, I wasn't expecting to start so soon. Well, what do you want me to talk about exactly?
Just introduce yourself and just kind of give us, tell us like one of your greatest achievements so far in VGC. It can be anything you want.
Oh, well, I'm obviously Jack. I used to go by Jack the Battler. But yeah, I played VGC for 5.5 years, I think about. And my greatest achievement was either probably second place in the world on the Battle Spot ladder or first place on Pokemon Showdown.
Excellent. Ben, we'll move to you.
My name is Ben Wood. I'm a senior division player. My greatest achievement is Day 2 Worlds in 2019 and top 8 Bokum Regionals, which has just happened.
Nice. Excellent. Racin, we'll move to you.
Hi, my name is Racin. I'm a VGC player from Portugal, and my best achievements, I would say, is a top 32 at regionals.
All right. Excellent. Gerald?
I'm 2-4. Some people know me as I don't know where I was trying to go with that. I went 7-2 in Championship Cup this year, and I'm probably one of the only people that anyone knows that has bubbled more than one regional on CP. So,
okay, yeah, very nice. Pokesiimii.
Hello, I'm pokesiimii. You can call me Brandon. My greatest achievements have been, reaching 1800s in the year 2014, where I think it was X and Y. That was my only greatest achievement.
All right, there you go. Very nice. Snooze.
Hey, what's up, babes? I'm Snooze. I'm Snooze. So I think my greatest achievement is going undefeated at the 2017 Utah Regional and winning the whole thing.
Nice. Very nice. Again, I'll introduce myself as Jason. I also go by silversnorlax. I am actually part of the TCG kind of collector set. I actually do a little bit more with the trading card game in terms of collecting. However, I've been an avid fan of VGC since about 2006, when Journey Across America was kind of the first VGC tournament that there ever was. So I've been around for a while, definitely, but I've been a spectator for most of it. My greatest accomplishment is helping and coaching my brother back in 2006 when he was in the 12 and under juniors division for Journey Across America. We made it all the way to New York City, which was considered the world's at the time. He unfortunately lost to Hacks Money, the famous Melee player, Super Smash Brothers Melee player, come round one, but it was still a great experience for us regardless, and it kind of got us into competitive Pokemon. So that's it for me. Let's go ahead and let's jump into some of the topics we had lined up to chat about today. So one of the topics that we had lined up is the top 5 mons in the tier, something I wanted to talk about, what we see in the current meta, and mons that we may be sleeping on. So pulling a little bit of data that I already had pulled up for us. According to Pikalytics, the top 5 Pokemon in the format currently are Rillaboom, Togekiss, Incineroar, Cinderace, and Porygon 2. And if we pull from theberry.net, we see that it is a fairly similar trend. It is Togekiss, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Dragapult, and Tyranitar in the top 5 slots. So we're seeing a lot of similarities. Let Josh in here. So we're seeing a lot of similarities as far as to statistical data regarding which Pokemon are kind of in that topmost tier. It should be noted that especially Rillaboom and Togekiss have about a 35% usage statistic. But that said, when you have statistics that are that high, usually kind of form and develop fairly quickly. So that's something I wanted to kind of kick off a little bit. What are some of the things you guys are seeing in terms of sleeper Pokemon that people are not recognizing much, able to kind of counter some of those top tier threats that I mentioned previously? Let's go ahead and we'll start with Josh versus Yoshi here. You just joined us. Josh, would you like to introduce yourself first and foremost?
Hello, my name is Joshi versus Joshi. I'm a PewDiePie level player in the VGC community.
Good introduction.
I have a couple of million subs, and my achievements were that I won a PC once. I've only started playing VGC, but I do put a lot of effort into it, and I'm pretty high on the leaderboard, but that's about it, really.
All right.
That was great.
So we got Yoshi versus Joshi. I hope you caught all of that, but essentially our first topic we wanted to chat about was what are you seeing in terms of like sleeper Pokemon? What is kind of dominating the format that isn't really being talked about too much or shown?
Well, there is a few Pokemon that are kind of like good, but you don't really see them as much. One of the Pokemon is Dracovish. You don't see it as much anymore. But with Tailwind support, with Choice Band, it just sweeps teams after you set up Tailwind and sack Whimsicott. Dracovish used to, obviously Dracovish won that regional, but it kind of dropped off after kind of like Venusaur, Torkoal. But with Tailwind support, it just becomes the monster that you can't kind of deal with.
That's true. Matter of fact, I'm looking at it now. Dracopult has actually dropped in usage. It used to be kind of a top 3 mon, and now it only has about a 21% usage statistic according to Picolytics. So that is a significant drop.
Wait, Dracovish
would anybody else?
Or Dragapult?
Dragapult.
Oh, I was talking about Dracovish. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dracovish. I'm sorry. I don't even see Dracovish at the top here. He's somewhere.
That's a Dracovish.
There he is. 12.22% usage. So he's been bouncing around a little bit. I think with the introduction of more viable rain teams, we'll see him slowly start to come back as the meta evolves. Who else would like to jump in on that? Is there immediately Gerald maybe?
Sorry, what's the question? Was it
Well, again, we're talking about sleeper Pokemon in the format. Is there anything you're seeing specifically in the current meta that is maybe developing that is kind of underground a little bit, things people aren't really paying attention to?
Let me think. So I was talking to a couple friends about this. I think Politoed is a super sleeper pick right now. Not as like as a Rainmon, but like, or not like on a rain team, but just like on itself. Because like a counter, it's a perfect counter to Sand and Sun in the way like you just switch it into things besides like Venusaur, and it just does stuff, and you just have like I guess supporting mons that can just like kill. It has Parasong, which like can just beat like a bunch of stuff. That's about it, really.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Yeah, it does have the ability to kind of disable some of the more meta weather setters. So and it can be used in conjunction with rain, obviously.
Yeah, I think personally, like that Sun team, if like you could like if you're the best player in the world and use that Sun team, there's like almost no way that you're not losing. Just because like that team has so many like 50-50s that you have to take into account for, and so many things they could do. It's just almost like it's just like if you're a better player and you're using that team, then you just win all the time. Like there's a reason why James topped the ladder with the Sun team, you know, like out of all the things that he could have chose to top it, he chose like Gyarados Sun, which is a super interesting concept, especially Gyarados. But yeah, that's what I think.
Nice. Anybody else want to add on to that?
I would like to add something. I think Dragalge is a mon that is starting to get like more use now in this meta 2020, and it's really good, especially against like weather teams, unless it's sand, of course. But I feel like against sun and rain, it's really good.
Right.
I think Gyarados
is underrated right now. Gyarados, like, it has Intimidate, right? But it also has Moxie, so it has two abilities that are so good to run with Dynamax, being able to either nerf attack or boost its own attack and snowball like crazy. But like, it beats Rillaboom super easily. It can handle its own versus Togekiss with the ability to raise its speed with Stab Max Airstreams. It can handle Sun. It can handle Rain. It can even hold its own versus Sand if you use the Intimidate variant or have an Intimidator. Like, I think it's super underrated. It does so well versus so many things.
And
So
plus, like,
to that
never mind, you go.
to that point, Snooze. So when we talk about Gyarados handling its own, especially against Togekiss, does that mean in that particular circumstance, or depending on a bunch of different factors, that means Gyarados is in fact the Dynamax in order to counter Togekiss? How are you finding ways to currently balance out your team fighting against Togekiss if Gyarados is on your team?
So Gyarados, yeah. So I feel like if you're using Gyarados, specifically like the Moxie variant, you're going to want to be Dynamaxing, right? To get the KOs, boost your speed, set your own weather. So Togekiss don't necessarily always run max speed. And if they do, you're still outspeeding them because you're base 81. So if you're matching max airstreams, you're still going to be faster while also boosting your teammates. So being able to outspeed Togekiss there.
Little team synergy there, yeah.
Yeah, a little team synergy. And also, if Togekiss is max speed, that means they don't have a lot in defense, which means you're probably going to be out damaging them. Even if they get the crit, I still think that it's not going to be in Togekiss's favor. And so pairing Gyarados with something that can also handle its own against Togekiss, if that's what you're struggling with, is really beneficial just to the team in a whole. Like, I know Jack loves to use Bisharp.
Hell yeah.
Like, Jack loves Bisharp. And if you pair Bisharp with a Moxie Gyarados, like, you're max airstreaming first, which means Bisharp is going to be faster initially, which means you can get a max airstream and an Iron Head, and Togekiss just does not want to see an Iron Head from a Bisharp at any point in the game.
Right, absolutely. Jack, to that point, I know I've watched several of your streams. Bisharp, for me, I've tried to use him over and over, and I've just never been successful with him. Do you believe he's one of those really kind of slept on Pokemon?
Yeah, I think it's pretty slept on. I mean, having Defiant to just kind of intimidate users like Gyarados, which Preston just mentioned, or something like Incineroar. Obviously, it's not going to win a one-on-one matchup with Incineroar, but just being able to get the boost and then kind of force a person to either bring Intimidate in the back or just not even bring it at all, I think that's very valuable. And if they do lead it, it could be a disaster for them. It's also very good against, not necessarily on its own, but it's very good paired up with Dragapult, because you could get off Max Phantasm and then get off of Boosted Assurance and stuff like that. So yeah, and I think it's very valuable in the format just for the sheer fact, again, with Defiant, there's a lot of max moves that drop stats, and then once you do that to Bisharp, it gets +2 in attack. So yeah, I think it's very overlooked a lot of the time.
That's true, and especially when you lead that particular Pokemon, you then limit an Intimidate switch-in, or you have to make your opponent think, do they really want to give you the attack boost? So yeah, absolutely. Almost anything with the Defiant or competitive ability, I think, is something that is, while somewhat common in the meta, I do think more often than not it's slightly realized. Ben, would you like to add anything? Is there anything in particular you use that you find to be very effective that isn't considered meta?
I mean, it is like meta, but I'd like to touch on the new hidden ability starters, which have been around for a few months now, to be fair. I mean, with Rillaboom, it can be either an offensive or a supportive mon. With offensive, you got like Grassy Glide, Superpower, Drain Punch, and also the Grassy Terrain ability. Whereas it's supportive, it can have Fake Out, Taunt, Wood Hammer.
That's true, it runs.
And U-turn, so it can pivot on. Yeah.
Right.
So,
it does a lot in the current meta.
Yeah, and also Cinder. Also, if you slap Choice Band on it, it can negate those Intimidate boosts. No, not boosts. Decrease, basically.
Drop.
Yeah, drops. Yeah. Also with Cinderace. Cinderace is primarily offensive mon with Life Orb, Air Card, Negate Load, Intimidate drops. Yeah. As well.
Anybody else, anything to add to general Pokemon that we find in the meta that are maybe finding a niche for themselves that aren't quite used so commonly?
Magnezone, I would probably say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Magnezone's
Starting to
good.
see Magnezone myself.
Yeah, Magnezone.
No, don't let people know. Don't let people know about it.
Yeah. Well, can
feel
I?
like-
I'll let you go, Josh.
No, go ahead, beautiful.
Oh, I'll
Go
go.
on.
Thank you, babe. Yeah. The thing about Magnezone, which I think is just very, very good, is the fact that it has both the Steel and Electric typing. Steel is obviously the best defensive typing in the game ever since Pokemon became even a thing. So yeah, if you just look at World Championships, Steel type has won every single year except 2014, and for Electric type, it's won every single year. Well, at least from 2011, it's won every single year except, I think, 2013, and then most recently 2019. So it has both those typings, which is very valuable. It gets amazing coverage. It crushes Togekiss in matchups. It could wall Rillaboom if it's not running high horsepower. So, yeah, I think that's definitely slept on a lot.
Well, and like the ability to raise its defense, be used in Trick Room and outside of Trick Room if you want to use like Analytic for like an extra boost. And it has a free Focus Sash with Sturdy. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
It does a lot of different things. And electric types in this format, if I'm not mistaken, there aren't a lot of really good ones.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
There's
Well, it was when the Rillaboom came out, so.
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
were speaking about it earlier, Trey. Like Rotom Wash, it just fell off because Rillaboom became so dominant.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rotom is seeing 5% usage currently, according to
Oh.
Analytics.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Oh no.
Oh, that was like a top 5.
It used to be
Yeah, that was
alright.
like clearly a top 10 mon, and just
Right.
like it's not that good anymore.
Yeah, right. Although I'm looking at the list right now, Magnezone is creeping up. It's got 4% usage, so
No,
it's
they're
slowly,
finding
it's slowly
out.
getting there.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it just just don't hit it with Earthquake. So something we've been chatting a little bit about, we've mentioned it kind of briefly, kind of touched on it. We've talked about Dynamax, who is the Dynamax, especially in when we talk about sleeper Pokemon and stuff like that. But I think this whole panel here will kind of agree. Dynamax, not a great mechanic. It's really kind of shifted how this game has been played. It's really shifted how teams are kind of form and made and when the Dynamax occurs. So for a lot of us, I believe, we're not a fan of the mechanic, but the reality is we have to deal with it regardless. So my question to the panel here is, how are you beating Dynamax? What are you doing? Are you finding ways to switch around it, use defensive shifts, pivots? Are you finding ways to maybe focus in on the partner versus the Dynamax? What are you guys doing to be successful against Dynamax?
Well,
Yeah,
for me personally,
If anybody has good ideas.
for me personally, I'm
Please let me
using,
know.
for me personally, I'm using Switcheroo Quick Attack to get rid of their Dynamax completely. So
Yeah.
don't judge me. But no, most of the way that people are currently dealing with the Dynamax, depending on if it's a physical or special Pokemon, is the revolving door of Intimidate Parting Shot with Incineroar to deal with the physical Dynamax. Because there's a lot of Pokemon in the format right now that mostly, if Worlds did happen, it would have been, the winner would have been whoever could have abused the weakness policy the best. So the problem with Dynamax at the moment, which kind of circumvents the way that you kind of deal with it, is if it's weakness policy, you activate weakness policy, you won't kill it, and then it will just go through your team. So most of the time, unless it's physical, you've got to ignore it, which can be annoying for Pokemon like Gyarados, because you're kind of just letting it get attacks off. But most of the time, ignoring Dynamax is one of the best ways of dealing with it, unless you've got a Dynamax Pokemon that can just one-shot back. But most of the time, that isn't accessible.
I've personally struggled a lot with Dynamax. I really like to play like hyper offense and like really frail, fast teams. And you would think like Dynamax would like favor that, but when the opponent Dynamaxes, your counter that you had to that becomes basically useless because you're not going to be able to pick up the KO most of the time, and then they're just going to KO you back. So I've been really struggling trying to figure out how to work around Dynamax or how to best utilize it myself because it's just not clicking with me.
It is a difficult mechanic to get used to. I will agree with that. Any of you guys who haven't spoken yet, anything to add to that?
Well, here's the thing. We all know it's the worst mechanic probably ever added in the game, in my opinion. But there are a couple ways to at least kind of work around it and soften the blow from it. I think one of the ways is sleep, something like Spore or Sleep Powder. However, you are playing a little bit with RNG there, because if you're using Sleep Powder, you only have 3/4 chance of hitting, so you can miss it a quarter of the time, and then that could be bad. And you're also messing around with the fact that a person can get a one-turn wake up. But if you do get that one turn of sleep, you do waste one turn of Dynamax, which is really valuable. Another way, again, is like defensive switch-ins, using Protect a lot, switching in and out constantly. You could use Follow Me, something like that, just to redirect whatever the Dynamax is doing. But yeah, there's not really great ways of beating it, but I would say those are probably the best ways as of right now.
I'll agree with you there. I think sleep has really been kind of important, especially to slowing down what is a huge offensive threat most of the time, especially with like weakness policy Dynamax users. Matter of fact, looking at Bavaria.net right now, the top 2 teams on ladder are actually running Amoonguss. So I think you're seeing some anti-meta strategies evolve in order to counter not necessarily the game, but the Dynamax aspect of it. Obviously, we still have popular mons in there like Venusaur running Sleep Powder and a couple of other ones to kind of try and hurry up and shut that down. But we're seeing it. I think we're seeing a metagame evolve around the Dynamax more so than we are seeing a metagame evolve around what Pokemon are used. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Sorry
would you
to
like to add anything?
Sorry, just to intervene there. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The person that's second on the ladder at the moment isn't actually running Amoonguss. He's running the Sun team, the Charizard, Venusaur, Torkoal, Tyranitar, Togekiss, and Venusaur. Because I'm personally friends with him, and I've asked him what he's using. He said he's running Sun, so he doesn't. The only option of sleep he has there is Yawn on Torkoal. Just thought I'd say that just before we go past it.
Yeah. Thanks for the correction.
The way I personally deal with Dynamax would sometimes it involves like offensive ways. Like I had lots of troubles with Porygon Z when the meta started, and one thing I decided to do is run Mienshao with Life Orb and rely on the high jump gigs to pick the one-hit KO. Of course, like it is like risky because there are other ways that can like basically shatter the strategy, but the main thing is offense, and sometimes that is not the best way to deal with Dynamax. It's probably like the best thing is stuff that you mentioned, like intimidates, sleep, and switch-ins, like defensive switch-ins. But yeah, most of my ways to deal with it is like, or my own mons that are Dynamaxed, or like offensive mons that can deal with the Dynamax even without Dynamax.
Good points. Gentlemen, anything else to add?
Yeah, I have something to add. To me, it depends on what type of match you're playing. To me, if you're playing in like a best of one, like Premier Challenge, then the best way to deal with Dynamax then is a Wolfie Blitz combo of Switcheroo and Quick Attack, because if there is like no top cut and they're unprepared for it, then you can get away with it easily. But in a best of 3 situation, your best options are either stalling it out and ignoring it, or yeah, that's what I think.
So,
I
speaking of like not expecting like switcheroo or all that stuff, I know like it's not official, like an official thing yet, but they've been doing it for the Players Cup with like open team sheets. Like I feel like if they actually, which I think is actually a good idea personally, but if they implement like those open team sheets, things like switcheroo, quick attack become a lot less like effective because they don't have the surprise factor and they'll be expecting a switcheroo or things like that. And so I think having the open team sheets will help with those things, but like at the same time, those strategies that people use, like the switcheroo, become less surprising and more predictable.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point, and that's a little bit about what I discussed earlier. We're seeing a metagame evolve around specifically targeting the Dynamax and shutting down the Dynamax with the switcheroo quick attack plays, with strategies that are similar to that, finding a way to kind of eliminate that Dynamax as an immediate threat, through offense or whatever. I do believe it pushes the game to be more offensive than I think any of us thought it would be this year. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I usually like to run a more defensive core myself, but I'm seeing a lot of offense, a lot of weakness policy abuse is extremely common this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that because last year in VGC 19, when we were on the 3DS, there were teams popping up around Shedinja and that with the soak and trying to knock out the Mons and then just get the soak on so they can't win the game.
Jack, you look deep in thought up
Yeah,
there.
I'm just like, I was thinking, because I know exactly like what I have, but I'm trying to figure out how to articulate it. I guess with the Dynamax, it could go either way. It could be either very defensive or very offensive. Because, for example, you could use something like Duraludon, right, and just keep using Max Steel Pike and then get a defensive boost. And also a lot of Duraludon run Assault Vest as well to kind of compensate for its terrible special defense. So you could run it very defensively, but you could also run it very offensively. Like, there are sometimes games where they end on turn 1 because you get 2 knockouts. So yeah.
Probably.
Did I cut out?
Yeah, you cut out big time. I was like,
damn.
it's Jack's internet.
No.
I just think your wisdom was too big brain for us to really understand.
Nah. Wait, where did I cut out
Killed
at?
the internet.
Oh no. But where did I cut out at so I could just
Steel
I would
Spike?
just repeat it.
I'll just
It's Steel Spike, yeah, that was the last thing we got.
So with Dynamax, you could run either it very defensively or very offensively. For, like I said before, with Duraludon, Max Steel Spike, you could get defensive boost. So you could run it as a very defensive set, but there are also very offensive sets like Cinderace, where you can end a game on turn 1 with by getting 2 knockouts. So it could go either way. I would say that's maybe the one thing I like about Dynamax is that it can be used in both aspects as opposed to like Z moves where they were just very offensive. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. Like,
No, we get where you're going.
yeah.
Anybody else add anything they're doing to beat Dynamax this year?
Porygon Z. That's what I'm doing.
See, I've just been choosing the forfeit button. That's how I do it. I don't beat it. I just lose to it. I just let it happen.
How I like to beat it personally is that I like to build around like bulky setup teams because I think those are really busted in a Dynamax format. Because because what people tend to do is that they tend to Dynamax turn 1, or at least like worse players. So they would like Dynamax turn 1.
Hey now, be careful. Whoa, hold on, bad players. All right.
Yeah, I'm offended. Shut that shit down.
Totally offended.
Jesus.
So much for early game momentum. You suck if you Dynamax turn 1.
I'm saying how I beat it, right? So like,
you're good.
You know what? Let me rephrase that. Most people tend to Dynamax turn 1. If you Dynamax turn 1 and you have a super bulky team, like let's say Corviknight, for example, right? There's not really many things that can really KO Corviknight outright. Especially with fake out support, especially with like snarl support, intimidate support, like all that stuff. If you're able to stall that out and like set up bulk ups and they just have a team that just can't hit Corviknight, then you just win the game. You don't even have to Dynamax. Like, it just sits there. You know? That's how I tend to beat it. Like all of my competitive teams has either been like stupid HO with like Dragovich Durant Talonflame, or like super bulky, because that's just what gets you through let's say in a tournament, right? With all these online tournaments. That's just what gets you through the early rounds, like early. And you just kind of dictate games off of just that. And like if they realize what you're doing, then it's just a different level of Pokemon in general, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So speaking of like, you know, handling it like defensively, and that makes me like really surprised that Grimmsnarl has been like so low on the usage because of its dual screens. And like,
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, I hate that Pokemon.
And, like for real, like so my buddy Elusive, he's topped the ladder several times during the format, and he's used the same team from Series 1 to Series 5, and he like always leads Grimmsnarl Arcanine, and he just like sets up screens, sets up Will-O-Wisps and Snarls, and like the opponent can't do anything, and then he comes in with Excadrill and just Dynamaxes and sweeps. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's wild. Like,
Yeah.
it's I don't know why Grimmsnarl is so low. Like, I just don't know. Like, Thunderwave speed control, Scary Face speed control. Like, I think it's just such a great support Pokemon.
Yeah. I think right now, which is how much fake out there is, it's kind of hard for Grimmsnarl to set up. Like how I beat Grimmsnarl is like out Max Steel Spike it and it dies, you know? That's how I typically beat it. But like there's obviously other ways to beat it, but like that's pretty much, I don't know how else you beat it. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe like Brick Break, but like no one runs Brick Break. You know,
Like,
I would
I-
like
I-
to
I-
make
I-
an observation.
Trey,
Yeah, like,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen like that the meta has changed massively since the DLC came out.
yes.
Like in like Series 4, like I didn't think that the meta was like really offensive as it is now, because like back then, like people tend to run slightly more defensive things, whereas now like it's really hyper offense, and you need like you can't really like build around certain things as easily as it was. About that he faced like the Dreadnought. Like right now I'm having like issues. Like if I go on the ladder on the Switch, like I find it really difficult to like play around like I used to play in Series 4. So that I feel like that is an important change.
Yeah, I definitely echo what you're saying. Season 1 in particular, because we saw so much Grimmsnarl, we did get a very defensive play style early in. Arcanine with Intimidate and Will-O-Wisp and Snarl running around, since we didn't really have Incineroar yet. And ever since DLC came out, we are seeing more offensive teams. And slowly with time, I think as we saw moving from seasons 2 to 3 to 4, we saw an increase in weakness policy usage as well. I think it's pretty much on every team. And the thing about weakness policy is multiple Pokemon can run it on a team. You can look at almost any team and have 2 or 3 valid weakness policy users. So that you're right. As Grimmsnarl has fallen away here, and I'm looking at it on Pikalytics, it's less than a 3% usage. Yeah, we're definitely seeing an increase in offensive play styles.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of beat that topic like a dead mudstale. Let's move it on to core dynamics. We'll talk a little bit about something that I think is just so enjoyable about Pokemon is the fact that it's got kind of a rock, paper, scissors mentality to it, and that's especially true with team cores. The most basic one being like fire, water, grass. And then you move into more fantasy cores, dragon, fairy, steel. We see those combinations pretty frequently on teams together. You know, one of the ones since DLC that came out, I think, is fire, water, grass cores. more namely, it's Cinderace and Rillaboom, and again, their usage statistics are above 30%. We know that those are being used, but kind of that third aspect of it, the water type user on that team, varies very strongly. You can run Dracovish, you can run Primarina, you can run Politoed, you can run a lot of different things with it. So that's my question to this group: is what are you seeing, or what are you using in terms of core dynamics? What is working for you? Kind of name a couple, 2-3 Pokemon that work for you. Anybody want to start with that? I know I'm just kind of throwing it out to the group.
Cinderace might be like one of the best mons that's ever been added in a format, just because of Dynamax. And like the fact that they can change types, and like you can give it like all the boosts in the world. It has a 160 base power fire move. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think with the addition of really viable grass types too, to kind of pair with it, Venusaur being one, Rillaboom being the other one, and the ability that Cinderace has to switch its typing, it really fits into a lot of teams very well. It doesn't have to be a standard fire, water, grass core. It can fit into just about anything. It runs a ridiculous move pool. It can run a lot of things on Dynamax really well.
I've personally liked using like Cinderace as well, but I've personally been like using like Cinderace with Rain, like Kingdra, and then like the better Drizzle Setter Pelipper, and then like Ferrothorn. You know, like I feel like that core has been like really strong for me recently. Like Cinderace, like we were saying, it covers so many things. Like it can beat grass types with bounce. It can, you know, if you're in the rain, it can get the fire type, the fighting type, the steel type. But then like you got, if they set up Trick Room, then you got your steel grass type to kind of handle that, and the water to cover both of them. I just feel like that's a good core that's been working for me.
There are a lot of very good defensive coverages there. I think you're right on a lot of that. Pelipper and or Politoed with Ferrothorn, I think, has always been an excellent combo between the two. They just cover each other so well.
Yeah, Pelipper and Ferrothorn have been really great. Like, just like Pelipper and Ferrothorn, definitely not Politoed.
No.
You really hate Politoed, Preston.
It's not that good. It's not that good.
You and Trey should duke it out in like a parking lot. See who wins.
You can clap for your teammate. Like, good job.
Yeah, you and Trey. I want to see you guys fight in the parking lot to see which Rain Setter superior, Pelipper or Politoed. I will put money on this right now.
Let me ask this.
Yeah.
Which one has a better chance of beating Rillaboom?
Oh, Pelipper.
Yeah, Pelipper does.
Well, yeah, but
if you like Politoed, if you like Politoed,
which one dies which one dies at Dragapult? Just saying.
Neither.
Right.
Pelipper has better defenses.
Yeah.
All right. Let's settle down.
It has better defenses than Politoed.
But it has bad like special defense. Like
the special defense isn't as good.
Yeah.
Like slightly better special defenses, like Pelipper would be much better.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm also a fan because it gets Parashong. If Pelipper got Parashong, I would use it.
I mean, wait, Pelipper has White Guard.
Yeah, it gets it beats it. I've been using it to beat Expanding Force.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's
Dragon
smart.
Darts. Yeah. Like beat Rock Slides. I'm just saying, guys. Like, yeah, the thing is like ugly as all get out, but man, it's good.
White Guard. I feel like White Guard is like one of the best moves, like to beat like the stuff that has came out from the DLC, which is like Expanding Force.
Muddy Water.
Yeah.
Dazzling Gleam.
That too.
I'm just kidding.
There
I
are a
really
lot of
don't care if you like
options.
Politoed. Sorry, I derailed this conversation.
Well, I think I probably did because I told you and Trey to fight in the parking lot. So you know.
I was just vibing, and then Jack just had to call me out. And
Yeah, I was like, yo, you guys right now, parking lot, 3 o'clock, beat the shit out of each other. Like, Yeah. Anyone else want to go?
That's impressive, truly. You know what? You're making me look at Pelipper in a new light. Honestly, I'm sitting here thinking, well, I tend to shy away a little bit from Pokemon with 4x weaknesses, but Pelipper's 4x weakness is electric, and I'm looking at a 5% usage like Rotom. Like that's what is used against it currently, and there are plenty of ways to beat that.
And we just talked about how there aren't really any good electric types.
Right.
Man.
So
if you don't
really
want to use it.
Right, and I mean, Bolt Beam coverage isn't what it used to be. I think the new Bolt Beam is now like Fire Grass coverage. That at least that seems to be in the current mess. Like, geez, that's what we're using to crack the weakness policy here. But I mean, if it's your strategy and it's working for you, who am I to judge?
Yeah, if it works, it works. You can't really. You know.
Something that I'm doing, because like I don't really have a proper team as of now, because I've been trying to come up with something good for Toxtricity, and I've been running all types of things. And one of the things that has impressed me the most, I would say, is how, like against Trick Room, if except maybe Hatteran, like Roar and Whirlwind are like really good. Like, for example, Ninetales like has Roar.
That's true. We don't see a lot of phasing moves currently. Where I see a little bit of haze on Dusclops, but Roar and Whirlwind are almost non-existent currently.
Yeah.
It's nothing I see.
There are some mons that are really good with those moves. Like, for example, Noivern, which like outspeeds Cinderace. Is like really good, like to lower its attack, and then against Trick Room, like to phase it out a little bit. And I would say it's still a good way to deal with those kinds of teams.
Yeah, definitely. So we're still kind of under an hour here. We covered all the topics I kind of wrote up and had planned to discuss, but I'd love to open this up a little bit more. I think we have a fairly decent conversation going. Is there anything you guys want to talk about in particular? Just kind of let your energy out. Just talk about whatever is on your mind at the moment.
Did Hax really play VGC?
Yes, he did. I actually have.
Because I was thinking about this since you said it. I was like,
wait, I have no idea.
You mean the Smash player, right?
Yes, like he is. He was 12 years old at the time, but there is actually photographic evidence of him on his Twitter that can confirm that. He actually got second place in that tournament. He was second place world's winner for juniors.
Oh my god. There's also I think it was Hulk Hogan. He was a commentator for
Yes, he was.
Like 7 Worlds. Yeah,
he was
so ridiculous.
I was there. He was awful.
But that's not the point. I just want Hulk Hogan to commentate events again. I just think it would be so funny. Like,
oh my god!
Just imagine.
Every time the move. So to understand that meta, it was Generation 3. All right. So Body Slam was still like highly viable. Like not as viable as but like still viable. And every time it was used in a competitive match and Hogan was commentating, he'd be like, "That's the best move in the game, brother." And I was like, "Oh my god."
He wasn't wrong.
Oh my god. People trying to hit
talk about
Harris, but I was like, "Oh my god." It's just like, I don't know. He didn't fit. It would be a good way to put it.
Wait a minute.
Let's just find someone.
Wait, just imagine
It's
if you saw
Hulk
like,
Hogan.
yeah, it is Hulk Hogan, but like, just imagine if you saw Pulverizing Pancake, the Z move on Snorlax, and it was using that. Imagine what he would say there.
Oh my god!
He's pulverizing the competition, like just like it's just so dumb.
He just pulls out a griddle and starts it and starts making pancakes. Yeah, I can see it. I can see that like just happening.
That looks like me when I was in WWE.
Right. So like Pokemon has gotten a lot better since then. I mean, the 2006 meta was, compared to today, just like not even close. It was single elimination. It was a metagame that was very strongly built around the explosion strategy, explosion self-destruct strategies, because back then if you used Explosion, the way switch-ins worked, if you exploded and took out both of your opponent's Pokemon, they had to switch in immediately that turn before your turn had ended. So theoretically, your Mewtwo, which it was an Uber's tournament, FYI, you could self-destruct with your Mewtwo, have your Snorlax take the hit, knock out the opposing 2 Pokemon. Your opponent has to send in 2 more Pokemon, then your Snorlax self-destructs and takes out the other 2 Pokemon again, and the game is over. Because it
that's
was
so dumb. That's actually so dumb.
It was not unusual. I walked around, I was like, why are people running the same strategy? We used like a totally different strategy. We weren't versed. The internet was still like learning how all of that competitive stuff worked. But I walked around, and the most commonly used strategy was Mewtwo and Snorlax, both with self-destruct, and then they ran either Shadow Ball, Body Slam, Thunder Wave, Protect, or Substitute. It was one of those 5 moves, and they would just find ways to kind of pivot around each other until they got the opening for the explosion, and then that's how a lot of games were won.
Jeez.
Yeah, isn't it like Explosion Double? Or is like a base 500 like normal move at one point?
500. Oh.
So
yeah,
here's what
it like
they did
Explosion
with
Double.
with mechanics back then, I think up till Generation 3, it might include 4, although I don't think it does. What would happen is when you used Explosion, what would happen, and before they like there was no warning this would happen, it was just an in-game mechanic. Your opponent's side lose 2 defensive levels for the move to go off. Yeah, that's what would happen. So the base power wasn't really adjusted or anything. It's just the opposite side immediately lost 2 levels of defense when the move was used and connected, which was a really strange mechanic, but that's what made Explosion and Self-Destruct so freaking powerful, is it was almost always a guaranteed 1-hit kill.
That's
yeah.
insane.
It was a very strange mechanic, but that's how it worked. So I'm bringing it back for this year. I'm running Snorlax with
Oh no.
Giga Explosion, and we're going all the way to Worlds. That's what we're doing.
Man. You
Yeah.
see like normal gem Snorlax, it just explodes. You're like, what the hell?
He stays in
What
the
is
field.
this meta?
Dude, that is like if someone runs that and then gets really deep in the tournament, they have big dick energy. Like, oh man. Like,
I tell you what, maybe we should bring it back.
Maybe.
Next podcast, let's do a team builder session with Self-Destruct Snorlax. Like, I don't know how we would buff that thing, but like, I don't know, lead with like Helping Hand Dusclops or something, and like
oh jeez.
give it Curse. I don't know, but I feel like we could raise its attack enough to just blow up the other side.
I mean, there was a Japanese player who run a triple Goat Core team and had Self-Destruct Snorlax that held a choice band on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That same strategy was pretty popular for Gen 4 as well. They didn't have a Worlds in 2007 for VGC, but in 2008 they did, and that was still a very popular format to run Explosion. The only difference, I think, is you saw more Belly Drum Snorlax used, and there were a lot of more versatile ghost types. You saw a little more Gengar, you saw a little more Dusk Noir actually was extremely popular. So that was something we saw. Metagross was around as well. Metagross was around. There were a lot of, the Explosion strategies were still valid. Even that format, they had changed the mechanic where you didn't switch into explosions, which was extremely helpful. But the metagame at that time was still not 100%. You were allowed to use Dark Void Smirgle.
No. You're giving me flashbacks to 2016, man. Not 2016 again.
Yeah, it was rough. And here's the thing, they didn't have auto leveling either, so you could run level 1 Smirgle if you wanted to. A lot of people did. I know my brother ran a team that did, and what you would do is turn 1 you would Trick Room and Dark Void collectively, so you put both opponents to sleep, and you would then be faster the following turn. A lot of times that Smirgle would take a hit. So the Smirgle would take a hit, take it down to a stash that has 1 HP. You're now in a Trick Room. You're the fastest thing out there. You're level 1, so you're the fastest thing out there, period. So you would just endeavor and just kill shit. Like, it was just not even close. Like, it was just, unless you were running a ghost type, that was,
Well,
The
didn't
cores then were like a lot of ghost normal typings.
yeah, well, didn't that happen also in 2016 where someone was running like a level 49 Groudon with Sword Stance or something? And they ended up winning like a
Might have
tournament in
been before the
Japan.
auto leveling
Yeah, I think
came
I
into play. Yeah,
those like fall regionals or something.
Yeah,
like
I
that.
think like I think they were running a level 49 Groudon and like a level 13 Smeargle, so it, like undersped something. I don't know. It was a wild team. It was crazy. Like,
yeah. Back then, you would account for levels and stat increases and decreases that were sufficient to the levels, which added a very interesting, unique aspect to the game. I don't disagree with that necessarily. I think auto leveling is fine for what it is. You're all on the same playfield, but man, I do kind of miss the level 1 Smeargle every once in a while. I do miss some of the more gimmicky sets. Sometimes they're a lot of fun to watch.
yeah, Aaron with Shell Bell and Sturdy. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, it
It's more of a
was.
single strategy, but yeah, that
Yeah.
was. I remember going to those tournaments and just going, "What is this? Why does everybody have a Smeargle right now?" I thought I was the genius that came up with it. No, everybody else came up with it. This is just what people ran.
Yeah. That's always like so disappointing when you think you like came up with this
Alright,
great
guys.
idea and then everyone just like is using it too and you're like shit. Like,
Yep, that's how metagames evolve.
yeah.
Somebody comes up with a gimmick, everybody figures out how to lightly beat that gimmick. Maybe not hard counter it, but lightly beat it, and then you just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So, all right, gents, do we have anything else we want to add?
What are you guys thinking of the Players Cup recently?
I have not watched it.
Two things. One, why is Conan, who isn't... We all know about Conan, right? The situation of Conan.
Who's Conan?
Are you talking about the
Yeah.
Japanese one?
Yeah. So,
I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
why is he in Players Cup when he doesn't live in the U.S.? And two,
Scummy.
yeah, right. And then, yeah, that's about it. That's it.
What did he?
Why is he in
What
Players
did
Cup
he
when
do?
he doesn't even live in
I
the
would
U.S.?
have thought he got banned by DPCI by now or something like that.
No, like they probably know. Like I still keep him in.
I mean, Case got banned for about the same thing, and Conan's just like riding free right now.
Oh, what
Well,
did he do?
I don't know. He did it for the. He did it like. How do I say it? He like his accountability didn't happen. I don't know during the season, so maybe that's why they don't want like they aren't banning him. But like, why is he still in? He doesn't even like.
Yeah.
All things aside, he doesn't even live in the,
Exactly,
in,
yeah,
the, in the region.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like it's ridiculous. I don't.
What?
That's
Wasn't
all I
there
have on it.
wasn't there something going on with someone called Mercury VGC or something like that?
Oh, that's a different story. Whole different story. Well, like they pretty much did the same thing, but Conan won one charity tournament, and then revealed that he was both
Oh, Rose
VGC.
Tower. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. That's about it.
What do you guys think of the online format that they're running this year? Since there's no worlds, I was actually really bummed. I had already bought my plane tickets and everything else to go over.
I
London actually
personally
would have been the first time out of the country for me, but
I personally like the
what do you
online
think of the
format.
replacement? Okay.
I think it's if nothing else, I think it's nice that the Pokemon Company did this just so that we could still have some form of a Worlds tournament. You know, like the online tournaments have been fine, but it's like I just like that they actually are noticing like, hey, this would be a good idea to do for our players to like put on a stream and do an online circuit and have like trying out a new bracket as like a test and do this open format with the sheets. And I think if nothing else, it's nice that they did that initiative. Like they could have done nothing.
Yeah.
But not for
Yeah.
not for juniors and seniors. Like that pisses me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like
2021 is going to be a thing, so
Yeah.
at least we'll get A Worlds in the future, which, you know, I've already got my hotel set aside for that, so.
hopefully.
I mean, it's kind of stupid for me, to be fair. Like, if I get the travel award next year, and I get like a £2.5 TA, and I only have to pay like £60 for my train and hotel. Like that's
great.
Yeah, it's stupid to be fair.
Yeah,
I feel
I did.
like
I did the math. I was going to be out close to $3,000 this year.
Oh man. Oh man.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like
Not
traveling around the country.
So I have a question for our good old senior in here. So I was watching some old Pokemon World Final Championships in the seniors division, like
Yeah.
Mark McClellan, Nikolai
Mark
Zielinski.
McClellan, yeah.
Yeah. So and I noticed like because Nikolai, he's from my local seniors from here in Utah, and he hasn't played since 2016. I think Mark quit the year after. Is there like
Mark quit the year after, yeah.
Is there a lot of seniors that once they go into the Masters division they just quit? Like, is there a reason they don't play anymore?
I mean,
is it like
for me, like some do and some don't. Like we've got, like you've heard of Quentin Colon and that, right?
right? Yeah.
I think, he quit after his last year seniors, I think. There are some I can't say the same for. I mean, we've got James Evans, Brandon Jong, the World's finalist of 2018. They didn't quit. But for me personally, I'm taking my A levels the next year, so I'm gonna take a break for that. So yeah.
I feel like most seniors since because they won't do well in the Masters.
Yeah, they don't. I mean that's not true. Like in the UK, well in Europe, we got Oliver Esplin and Ethan French. In Masters, after their first year, they top cutted the little special event. Like it was like 100 Masters or something. And also we've got Alfredo Chan Gonzalez, who top cutted the Australia special. Who, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just curious and asking because it's like I would love to see like these guys compete in Masters, but I was like, is it just like it's Masters and seniors just that much of like a different skill?
I mean,
like a skill cap, or like that they feel like they can't compete anymore, like they were good in Masters and they didn't perform well in. I mean, they were good in seniors but didn't perform well in Masters, so they just ended up leaving.
Yeah, I think it's just that like transition and that we're still maturing at the moment, and our brains are not fully developed. So I think it's just because of that, really.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
You are going from the minors to the majors a little bit. I think that is a comparison that's fair, especially because a lot of people, especially now that I'm starting to notice, you're starting to see a lot of like Masters players that are closer to my age. They're kind of hitting their 30s, late 20s, early 30s, and that's because we come from that generation where like Pokemon was a big thing for us. Some of that's nostalgia and stuff coming back too, but you're starting to see more older players with more experience come into those cups, and while they may not necessarily be winning, there's also that, and they just have experience with it. I think part of winning Worlds or part of winning a major tournament is just having that experience, and I think in the Masters division there's just more of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the difference is probably pretty big between the two.
yeah. I mean, but with like the seniors and Masters, there's also like a luck factor that goes into it. In seniors there are like less players, okay, and but in Masters there are more players. So in Masters you're more like certain where you're going to place, where in seniors you are not. For example, Bristol Regionals last year, I was 2-2, okay, going into top cut, okay. I wasn't sure when I would top cut it. I thought there was a chance, but then I bubbled it on the same resistance and opponent's resistance as the fourth place dude. So it seems there's a very big luck factor in it.
Oh boy.
That's true. I mean, that's true with
Regional.
any
Resistance.
classification.
I still remember of that. I don't have a lot of good memories. I ended up 4-3, like after losing to Jamie Boyd. It's not nice.
Yeah.
I cannot speak from experience because I've never been to a regional.
We're taking you sometime, Jack. I don't know when, but we're taking you eventually, so you can like see it. I mean, going to a Worlds event is.
It's.
I think a lot of people go there and expect to be like entertained, like there's a something they're gonna do from like 9 to 10, and then there will be a different event from 10 to 11, and it's really not that way. It's very free flowing and just and I'm speaking purely as somebody who spectates pretty much every year. I go pretty much every year that I can. It's just a whole different ballgame, a whole different atmosphere. It is way less toxic than online.
Dude,
anything.
the online shit pisses me off.
People in real life, they're too afraid to actually speak what they want on like Twitter. So yeah.
Well, there's actually
not a screen to hide behind anymore.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, there's this quote by Mike Tyson where it's I don't know the exact quote, but it said something along those lines that social media is now used as an excuse without people use social media. No, wait. No, come back to me. I can't remember. just come back to me. I was fucking it up. Just come back to me. It'll come to my head. Yeah. I was fumbling my words there for a second.
To like be more rude to someone else?
Oh, people.
It's
okay,
more
social
like-
media. Okay, I remember. Social media lets people say whatever they want without the consequence of getting punched in the face. That's what he said, or something like that. Yeah, that's what I wasn't remembering. So you know,
Right. People are super different in real life. All of my experiences offline and in real life events have been extremely positive. People are very open. Several worlds, and I've hung out with different groups, but it has always been a constant of the people here are extremely nice.
Oh, that sounds
Period.
nice.
I mean, we'll go out, we'll get even if you check my Facebook, there's like photos of me eating dinner with like 20 freaking people. It's mostly card collectors, and we're just like all together. Matter of fact, last year we ran our own kind of offshoot. We were the first like collectors, well, I'd say second organized collectors event ever to kind of get together and do something at a Worlds or at a national tournament. And there were like 50 of us packed into a room, and it was just fantastic. We brought cards. We had, some couple people got something to drink, and we just hung out. It was great, and it was all different age groups too. I mean, I think some of our youngest members were like, some people were out there kids, so there were like 6-year-olds there. But like, if you guys have ever seen the clip online, Gary from Pawn Stars comes in with the Charizard collection.
Oh yeah,
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
No,
So
he
okay, look it up
like
sometime.
50 like first edition Charizards or some German ones.
Oh damn.
He brought in a whole bunch of great ones.
That must have been worth a lot
and,
then.
So like Gary was there, and Gary has at the current moment, I forget what his it's something like 16 or 18 first edition PSA 10 Charizards. They go for at least 50,000 each. But Gary's been collecting since
I'm going to buy every pack I find. I'm gonna buy every pack.
Yeah, but it depends on the set. Remember, like
he actually has
because they come from the.
So like Gary even has like sealed first edition booster boxes. He has like half a pallet of them. He put them up on his Instagram, and like they go for 80K each. But he's just sitting on them. So what's that?
80,000?
Yeah.
80,000 each, and I believe that number may fluctuate and be higher now. That was the last time I heard.
Like
Yeah,
more than
like
a car?
it's like for a booster box, a sealed first edition booster box.
That is so much money, dude. That is so
It
much
is
money.
a lot of money. All those, I don't know. Some of you guys who have been to larger tournaments, have you ever been approached if you've won a card, a championship card that they give out at the end? You won first, second, third. A lot of those people who are approaching you are people I know. I come from that grouping, so sorry.
Yeah, I mean.
But they literally walk up to you with like 20,000 in cash and say, "Hey, I'll buy that from you if you want to sell it." Yeah, that's kind of the group that I run with outside of the VGC group, and it's just a fascinating world. I do not have that kind of money, but I think it's fascinating to watch like somebody just drop 20K on a card and not even flinch. So.
Dude, if I did that, I think I would have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be able to stomach just losing. Well, not. I guess you don't lose it because over time the card would be worth more. But like, just on the spot, just dropping 20K. I don't know if I could stomach that.
Yeah, and it's in cash too.
Oh,
When I won the Utah regional, they gave me like 2-3 big booster boxes, and like as soon as like the judge handed it to me and I turned around, there was like 3 guys there, and they're like, "We'll give you $600 for those boxes."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay,
Yep.
here you go."
Yep. They know to target the Americans because the Japanese never sell.
oh.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have friends in like the TCG community, so whenever I like top cutter regionals or something, they just ask if they can buy my booster packs off me or something like.
Yeah.
It's like...
That's always a thing. Yeah, there are flippers at those events too. I know I bought an extra spectator pass. I usually buy extra spectator passes when I'm there. They're $10 to buy them online. They're done by Pokemon. I literally bought mine last year, walked 10 feet away, held up my spectator pass. Somebody walked up to me. He's like, "How much?" I said 50, and he's like, "Sure." And that was it. So I mean, like, it's just like, it's an event where money does get thrown around. Pokemon frowns on it. You're not supposed to get caught. It is what it is, though.
Hey Preston,
So-
do you think you could take